Hello, Vegas parents. This is Tim, and welcome to for those listening on Spotify. This is the second recording, although the first one was more of a test than anything else. So this might be the first one where I actually talk about a topic in any level of depth. For those who are listening or watching the video on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, welcome. I hope to get more polished as time goes on, but for now, I just want to get this information out there. I want to talk today about one of the most heated topics in education, especially here in Southern Nevada, and that is Common Core math. Specifically, I want to talk about the pros and cons of Common Core math. What's good about it, what's bad about it, and what's meh. So people usually pick one side and are very firm on that side, but as with anything, there are good things about it and there are bad things. So let's start with the good things. First of all, as someone who does math for a living, it's pretty cool that students are introduced to complex topics early. I find this super useful for those who are going to become scientists and engineers, for those who are, have a natural interest in math and logic, puzzles. It brings a lot of topics to the forefront at an early age so that by the time students get to high school, they already know what the distributive property is and they have some tricks and tips in their bag. And that's, to me, that's pretty cool. And I'm actually very much in favor of that. I love the deeper understanding that students can get. There are a number of cons, though. There are a number of negative, unintended, really. Sometimes because we care so much about our kids and we care so much about their education, we tend to think about things in terms of good guys and bad guys. And most educators, even the bad ones, genuinely do care and genuinely want kids to succeed. It's just a matter of how and why, right? The devil's in the details. So one of the cons is that it can discourage kids, especially younger kids. They don't always grasp complex topics. A lot of the times, things that are taught as official methods, kids will come up with on their own as strategies. Things like splitting 7 into 2 and 5. For example, when I was young, I kind of like did that on my own without being taught. But being drilled something like that adds extra steps, and simplicity is so essential when you're learning baseline stuff like, fact families. Simplicity just really helps kids to absorb and understand and get some, well-earned self-esteem for understanding, hey, I know my nines. That's a big deal versus, oh, to do your nines, you can do 5s and 4s. It makes it a little more complicated, and that discourages a lot of students who otherwise might have had an inclination to excel in math. So it kind of discourages a lot of kids from actually getting involved and actually enjoying math. On a practical level, it's not super useful. It doesn't teach, it speaks well for engineers, for computer scientists, but there are the majority of professions, the majority of college majors, the majority of trades won't really benefit from the complexity, from the deeper levels of understanding of these complex mathematical topics. So it really leaves a huge percent, in fact, the vast majority of students um, out because they're not going to benefit. If maybe 10% that's going to become engineers, and I just made up that number. Someone please fact check and tell me what the percent is that become scientists and engineers. I have a feeling it's less than 10%, but I'm just going with that for now. Right, even students that are going to need some level of math, even some maybe heavy math, like for accounting and stuff like that, it might not benefit from a lot of the stuff that Common Core has to offer. So while we are serving our future engineers and scientists with it, we're definitely not serving everybody. It's certainly not it's certainly a one size fits all solution for something that's not really a one size fits all problem. So that is a huge issue, is the disparity between who are we helping. Are we only going to have math for engineers? Can we maybe identify students? And it's hard because, dude, when you're young, you don't know what you're going to be. Everyone wants to be an astronaut or a firefighter or something like that, or a Ninja Turtle. But you can definitely, math can definitely be taught where we're not pushing everyone to be an engineer and holding them to these rigid standards. And that's what Common Core is supposed to be. It's supposed to be standards, but it also definitely affects teaching methodologies. And if you don't believe me, just look at any textbook that has the word Common Core on it. It's different methodologies. The final reason, and there's other reasons pro and con, but the final thing I want to talk about today is probably the biggest one that affects parents, and that's that parents really don't have the ability to help their kids with their homework the way they used to, because parents don't understand it a lot of the time. And some might say that as the kids that learn Common Core growing up become parents, that will go away. But I don't really think so, because a lot of what's taught in elementary school for Common Core, you do see it in algebra. You do see it in geometry. It's stuff that comes back. And most parents have had Algebra 1, they've had geometry, and they still don't understand the concept. So what that tells me is that parents forget a lot of the deeper math who are not using it, right? The scientists and engineers, sure, they're going to remember their calculus, they're going to remember all of that because they've been deeply immersed in it. But even for parents that are super successful in their careers, like, that are highly educated, I'm talking Ivy League educated lawyers, they're not going to remember the distributive property. No matter, whether it's taught in second grade or whether it's taught in ninth grade, they're going to forget. And so parents are really left out because they can't help their third graders with math, right? A lot of parents expect to not be able to help their high schoolers with math. But it really leaves parents out in the cold of younger kids when their fifth grader is doing stuff that the parents don't understand. So these are just some reasons, some pros and cons of Common Core. I hope that this has been educational for you. I hope this has been useful. If you have comments, send them my way on whatever platform you're hearing this on. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Have a great day.